Hey y'all, this is Steve. We're here in Winter Haven, Florida. We just finished eating at a McDonald's where there's this classic McDonald's hamburger sign. Show you right here. All right. Anyway, if you're interested, it's at the corner of US 17 and Avenue D Northwest, if you want to see this classic sign. We're here because this is the town, Winter Haven, Florida, where Publix was founded. So today, we're going to take you on a Publix history tour. So, stand by. George W. Jenkins Jr. He was born in 1907 in Warm Springs, Georgia. He started as a stocker at Piggly Wiggly in Winter Haven, Florida, where he worked his way up to store manager. He started Publix in 1930 after he became disillusioned with the new owners of Piggly Wiggly. Folks, we're standing right here in front of the world's very first Publix, which was started by George Jenkins in 1930. Let's take a closer look. Right here is a historical marker to tell you all about the first Publix store here in 1930 in downtown Winter Haven, Florida. Let's take a look at it. Let's take a little look around. There's the founder, George Jenkins. Right there is how it looked back in the day when Jenkins opened his first Publix. Now, from my understanding, this had been a restaurant for quite a while, and as you can probably see inside there, it's gutted out. I saw in another YouTube video this morning that some people think that Publix may turn this into a museum. If so, I think that would be a great idea. So Publix, if you're listening out there, hey, I think this will be a good investment to tell y'all's history in a little bit more detail. Anyway, let's continue taking a little bit more of a look. There's some more photos. That's a photo of the first Publix supermarket, which we'll be visiting in a moment. And you can come here and visit yourself. It's at 58th 4th Street Northwest here in beautiful downtown Winter Haven, Florida. We're going to move on in this Publix history tour now that we visited the first Publix ever, started by George Jenkins in 1930. Now we're going to move on to where Publix, as we sort of kind of know it, started. And it's just right around the corner. Right here in front of me is the very first Publix supermarket that was opened by George Jenkins, aka Mr. George, in 1940. Let's go have a closer look, shall we? And just like the original Publix, this Publix also has its own historical marker. Now, thank goodness that this Publix did not get torn down. It is currently used as a thrift and gift shop for St. Matthew. There's a peek of what it looks like inside. Since it's Sunday, they're not open, so we're not able to go in and take a look around. Sorry, folks. And oh, by the way, they ain't got no public restrooms, y'all. And there you are. There's the Virgin Mary, the Mother of Jesus, in all her glory. Thanks be to God. And for all you Nativity fans, there's Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus. I like that nativity scene. It's pretty cool. And yes, us Christian folk need to be reminded that Jesus is indeed the reason for the season. Cool. A little bit of the history preserved along with the building. Got you in and you're outdoor. There you go. Here's a little more Christmas bling for y'all. I guess that's supposed to be a knockoff Mickey. The building has found new life as St. Matthew's Thrift and Gift Shop. Cool, they're on eBay, so they've got a lot of neat little knickknacks. We'll definitely have to stop by sometime when they're open. But in the meantime, we're going to move on. So, folks, this concludes this portion of the Publix history tour here at the First Publix Supermarket in downtown Winter Haven, Florida. All right, folks, we're here on our final stop of the Publix history tour. We are at Oak Hill Burial Park, right outside Lakeland, Florida, which Lakeland is the current headquarters of Publix. And here we are going to visit the final resting place of Mr. George himself, George Jenkins. If you're looking for someone's grave here at Oak Hill, you can actually go onto this website and search. All right, folks, on our final stop on the Publix history tour, we have come to the final resting place of the founder of Publix Supermarkets, George Washington Jenkins, Jr. Founder of Publix, 1930. George Washington Jenkins Jr., September 29th, 1907, April 8th, 1996. He lived to be 88 years old, and among other things, he was apparently a 33rd degree Mason, And on the lower right-hand corner, he was a fan of the Masters. That looks like the Masters logo, the famous Masters tournament in Augusta, Georgia. And just to his right is his wife, Annie McGregor Jenkins. This, I believe, would be his second wife. If I recall correctly, he and his first wife had divorced at some point. But this is the final resting place of Annie McGregor Jenkins, loving wife, mother, and grandmother, born April 28th, 1924. So she'd have been 100 years old this year. Died November 10th of 1998. And it looks like she was a nurse. George W. Jenkins, 1907 to 1996. It says, "The pleasure was having you with us." Publix's slogan for many years, ever since Mr. George founded it, still is, where shopping is a pleasure. And yes, it was a pleasure to have you among us, Mr. George. Thank you, sir, for founding Publix. God rest your soul. And of course, a big shout out to all the Publix employees out there. Appreciate you. Keep up the good work. Keep Mr. George's memory alive. And we'll catch you later. I just happened to notice this. Wow. Some people left name badges. It's like a reflector and golf balls and some type of tool. And right over here, nice little poinsettia looking thing with Santa Claus. Here's the other side of the Jenkins family plot. And on the far right, that must be his son, Kenneth Holmes Jenkins. Wow. Died young, only 22 years old. Wow. Rest in peace, Mr. Kenneth. Well, folks, this concludes the Publix history tour. So it's time for me to go. And before I came and paid my respects to Mr. George, I definitely went and paid my respects to my father-in-law, who's not buried too terribly far from this section of the cemetery. So, God rest your soul to my father-in-law. God rest your soul, Mr. George. And now it's time to go pick up a few things at Publix. My wife gave me a grocery list, and we're going to pick up those things at a nearby Publix, and we'll be thinking about Mr. George. Thank you all for joining us on this Publix history tour, and until next time, peace out, y'all. This has been a Subligna Valley production from Atlanta, Georgia.